Welcome back, Patriots, for another episode of the Bald Brad Show. It is officially Liberation Day, baby. Tariffs are going in effect today. A lot of moving puzzle pieces. Doge is finding more money in the tunes of billions of dollars each and every day. Casually, we're still deporting illegal aliens that are violent criminal gang members, and the left is hysterical over it. Who would have thought? We're getting rid of terrorists, put them in Guantanamo Bay. They're still upset with that. I mean, they are upset with the most obvious things you should be doing as a society and as a government. But that's the way Democrats roll in the crazies. And Donald Trump is making America great again, nonetheless. It's good to see everybody in the chat. A lot of us were hanging out last night for Dark MAGA podcast, baby. I had such a good time. We went a little over 2 hours, and we wanted to go 2 more, man. We wanted to go 2 more. So we'll be streaming a lot more these coming evenings because I will be going on vacation for a week. So you won't hear from me for a week. I'll miss you guys so much. But let's jump in the news because, boy, dude, we've got freaking a lot of it. So I want to start off with this, okay? We're going to start off kind of easy, lighten the mood a little bit here because you got the crazies coming out. And we watched this last night on Dark MAGA. Regular MSNDNC guest, all laws passed before 1965 should be presumptively unconstitutional. Folks, this is coming from a black guy, just a heads up, or what appears to be black. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't identify, not sure.
Yeah, right.
But here it is from The View. Everything before 1965.
One of the laws you write about is playing out right now, the Immigration and Nationality Act. Now, this administration is using this statute to justify the detentions and possible deportations, actually, of visa and green card holders who they seem to deem a threat to U.S. foreign policy. What do you make of the administration's use of the act? And more broadly, is Trump really setting up a First Amendment showdown, which is what Whoopi's been talking about?
Yes, absolutely. One of my premises for the book is that every law passed before the 1965 Voting Rights Act should be presumptively unconstitutional, right? But because before the 1965 Voting Rights Act, we were functionally an apartheid country. Not everybody who lived here could vote here. So why should I give about some law that some old white man passed in the 1920s?
One of the laws
as we said, it's always about some old white man. Like the old white men didn't do anything good. How about the fact of creating the best country that's ever existed in human existence? How about that? How about for those white men that made up those documents called the Declaration of Independence, United States Constitution? God, man. It's remarkable, dude. It's remarkable. By the way, getting rid of everything prior to 1965 would include the 19th Amendment, the Social Securities Act, and the Civil Rights Act of 1964. But that's just, that's just to name a few. Oh my God. So I guess Democrats want to get rid of Social Security now. I'm down for that. Keep everybody grandfathered in, starting at a certain point at a certain date and time. You don't file into Social Security and you're done. I think Social Security is theft. The fact that I'm already getting taxed on my income, then I get taxed again through Social Security at a later date, and who knows what the tax is going to be on that. That can go up or down, so I could actually be losing more money. There is theories out there, depending on how Doge goes, that we might not actually get that full amount of Social Security when we retire, and we're supposed to be thankful for that. I would teach this in finance. Democrats, I wouldn't say Democrats, but when I'm teaching, but Democrats themselves, they say this. They say, well, at least you're getting some of your money back. Oh, that makes me feel so much better that I'm getting 70% of my money back. Where's the other 30? It's stolen is what happened. That's called theft. That is worse than tax because I'm guaranteed that money back. Don't get me in the Social Security. It is frustrating. Not a fan. I would rather take that money that I'm putting in the Social Security, put it in the market because I'd make a lot more money off of it. That's for damn sure. You should be able to opt in and out of Social Security. That's what I say. Some other news here. So we're not listening to one psycho. Let's actually get to what Doge is doing in the Labor Department. This is a big win for Donald Trump and his administration. Trump Labor Department secures eye-popping sum to return to taxpayers amid Doge push. They're attempting to retrieve See, the Democrats, not a big deal. Like I said, I don't think Democrats and the crazy should get any of this money back if they want to act like the way they're acting. $4.3 billion with a B, folks. The United States Department of Labor Secretary announced on Monday that her department will return over $1 billion in unused COVID-era funding. Folks, it's 2025. COVID was 5 years ago. Back to the taxpayer amid the Trump administration's push for the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, to slash waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. In a press release, the Labor Department said $1.4 billion of unspent COVID funding just sitting out there in the ether will be returned to taxpayers through the U.S. Department of Treasury's General Fund, and added the action is being taken to recover the remaining $3 billion. So the roughly $4.3 billion was intended for states to use for temporary unemployment insurance during the pandemic, the press release states. So what was the game plan here for the government? To just sit on it? To have it just be somewhere? Maybe launder it at some point or another? Instead, several states concluded and continued spending millions, rather, of dollars despite no longer meeting necessary requirements. Oh, you mean the government was corrupt as fuck? And it's continued to be. Sorry, I cussed. You're right. We're working on it. But you're really? Oh, huh. And it was uncovered in a 2023 audit. It turns out when you actually audit the government, you find a lot of waste. You find a lot of fraud. You find a lot of error. You find a lot of, well, we don't care how your money's being spent because it's not our money. It's your money. So we're just going to cash checks left and right and send it to whoever. Terrorists, cartels, drug lords. It don't matter who it is, as long as we're just spending your money. The department explained in a press release that the funding originated from the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act in March of 2020, and the program was meant to provide expanded unemployment insurance for Americans who were not able to work during the pandemic. But we're not even under the pandemic, so what the hell's going on here? The program was closed in 2021, which is when the money should have been returned. But the department said after an audit, they found 4 states were allowed to access the funding despite not meeting any of the program requirements, totaling over $100 million in spending. So guess what? You know what you should be doing? You should be going back to those 4 states, and those 4 states should be refunding you that $100 million in spending since it wasn't allowed. That's what should be happening. And also, there you go. Chris has it. This is what happens when nobody is ever held accountable. Furthermore, you need to get all these people fired that were the ones that were writing the checks to these states. I don't care if they're red states. I don't care if they're blue states. People need to start being fired for this and let go. There's no reason leftover COVID unemployment funds should be still be collecting dust. Fox News Digital in a statement, I promised to look out for the Americans' hard-earned tax dollars. That's nice to have somebody that actually has our back now. It's been freaking, I don't know, ever. And we are delivering at the Department of Labor. I've mentioned this time and time again. It is remarkable to see Donald Trump's team actually going out and just doing the work. I don't even remember this even happening under his first administration. I mean, it was, but I mean, remember that was cut short from the COVID-19 that was released upon China. And I'm still waiting to hear Trump come out and give some sort of punishment to China. That could be, you want to talk about our national debt? How about, I've always claimed this. You know what, China? We ain't going to say shit. China holds, I'm going to be generous, like 6% of our debt, allegedly. 6-7 from what I've heard. Maybe somebody could fact check me on that. Wash it. There you go. So we can lose 6-7% of our national debt, whatever we have, with China because of their release of COVID-19 upon the globe. So you know what? We'll wash our hands of it. They can wash their hands too of it. We won't ask for anything else. Just wash out that debt and we're good. There you go. Now your debt really dropped. I've been claiming that for a while. There should be punishment here, and that's a slap on the wrist in my mind. Nothing happening. Well, we also got more winning. America, man. America's coming back, baby. Oh, baby, it's coming back. Trump celebrates voter ID victory in Wisconsin. Allow us to win for many years to come. Now, I hope so. Fingers crossed. Maybe the biggest win of the night. So President Donald Trump said Republicans should have the upper hand in Wisconsin for years to come after the state voted on Tuesday to enshrine voter ID requirements in its constitution. Thank you, baby Jesus. More than 60% of voters approved of it, the constitutional amendment, which will make it more difficult to roll back voter ID requirements. While Wisconsin's state law has required voter ID since 2011, Republicans who pushed for the constitutional amendment argued that it was necessary to prevent Democrats or the liberal state Supreme Court, from undoing the law in the future. Trump took the Truth Social Tuesday night to celebrate their approval of voter ID requirements in the swing state. Again, swing state. This is huge. A party that also cruised to victories in 2 special elections in Florida to hold on to the U.S. House seats. Quote, voter ID was just approved in the great state of Wisconsin election. I'm adding stuff in there because that's what Trump does. I want to be like Trump. Democrats fought hard, really hard against this, so hard. Presumably, so they can cheat. This is big. Big win for Republicans. Maybe, just maybe, the biggest win of the night. I gotta read it. It should allow us to win Wisconsin, just like I did in the presidential election for many years to come. You gotta love it. Now, after Joe Biden won his presidency in 2020, Trump and Republicans pushed for voter ID laws across the country, arguing that states that lack such laws make elections susceptible to widespread voter fraud. And voter ID laws are extremely popular among Americans. A Gallup poll from October showed 84% surveyed approved of photo identification being required. Everybody is for this for the most part, but if you were to watch the media, it's almost as if nobody's for this. How possibly could you ask somebody to prove who they are? How could you possibly make sure the person that's voting is actually the person that's voting? There was a while ago, I want to say 2-3 years ago, that we showed a study of the amount of Americans, minimum 17%, by the way, stated that they committed voter fraud, that they voted on behalf of somebody else, that they filled the ballot on behalf of somebody else. I mean, it was wild what they did. I mean, 20% of the country did something else. I don't remember what it was in terms of voter fraud. Just openly admitting to it. Really, really wild stuff, folks. If you're enjoying what you're hearing and seeing and reading and blah, 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 hit that like button. It really does support the Bald Brad Show. I wouldn't ask you to do it if it didn't. We're trying to grow here. And also, if you want to follow us over at Rumble, we are live over there. And we're also live on X right now. We are a growing channel, Grassroots Baby. And if you're wondering, hey, what's your crew? What's your team? It's you guys. That is my crew. My crew is my team. And that is all the patriots in the chat that are watching the show right now. We're not like a lot of these other shows, folks, that's funded by big corporations, or, you know, I own a big business and that's what's keeping me going and I do this for fun. No, I work 3 jobs and I do this before I go to work. I go to work all day. I come back to work and I do more of this because I love it and I love hanging out with you guys. So thank you so much to everybody that contributes. Thank you so much for all the members over here, everybody giving the donations. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you guys. Genuinely. And I love hanging out with you. Like I said, I really wish we could have got another 2 hours last night. And Danielle said in the chat, she goes, it didn't even feel like 2 hours. It didn't. Legitimately probably could have gone a 4-hour Dark MAGA podcast. And I think we would just be like, oh, I feel like it just started. This is great. This was a good time. Couldn't agree with you more, girl. Couldn't agree with you more. Let's get into a little bit of like some top headlines here. RFK is going to start mass layoffs here, which we did talk about late last week. The Trump administration's quest to downsize the federal government continues, and Democrats are voicing their complaints. Of course they are, because they want bloated government. This is the one thing that actually makes sense for Democrats to complain about. It's the fact that we're trying to downsize the government, because that's what they've always wanted, was bloated and bigger government. As to why it never made sense to me, government sucks at everything. And government sucks at everything leads to them having a lot of waste and fraud, which is less money in your pockets, Democrats. I used to be a tax accountant for many years. I never once, not me, not any of my current friends right now, I don't think you'll ever meet an accountant in your life that's ever done taxes for an American, where a Democrat walked in their office and said, I don't care about any of the deductions. I don't care about any of the expenditures to offset my income. I don't care about any of that, which was basically just deductions. I want to owe the most possible amount of money I can to the federal government. I've never seen it. So it's odd to me. Democrats always vote for higher taxes. They want bigger government. They want to throw their money out the window, but when it comes to actually filing their taxes, all of a sudden they're the most conservative fucking people you've ever seen in your life. You would never know that you're talking to a full-blown lib, even though you see a guy dressed in women's clothing, wearing his wife's titty tassels, and he's in your office trying to get his taxes done, but you got to call him Margaret when his name's actually legally Jeff, and he's wanting to get as much money as he possibly can. The guy's like practically cleaning a rifle in front of you. He's so conservative at that moment. It's bonkers, man. There's an analogy and a visual for you. Now, where I got the tassels from, I don't know. It popped in my head, but here nor there. Yesterday, the Department of Health, this is why you come here, folks. You get something a little bit different. The Department of Health and Human Services announced that it would eliminate 10,000 positions across its divisions and agencies. Thank you, RFK. Thank you, sir. That includes everything from the Food and Drug Administration and the Centers of Disease Control, the CDC, and Prevention, to communication staffers. There was a report from DOJ that came out, and I forgot what part of the government it was, and I think it actually was Health and Human Services, that has like 40 different communication areas. What? Again, it shows you that there's people that are working that aren't actually working. They're just showing up and, braiding their hair all day. Hell, I don't know. These layoffs are part of the Trump administration's broader effort to shrink the federal government. Quote, we're going to streamline HHS and make our agency more efficient and more effective. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy said earlier this week, quote, we are going to eliminate an entire alphabet soup of departments and agencies while preserving their core functions by merging them into a new organization called the Administration for a Healthy America, AHA. Now, in addition to cutting off staff, Kennedy slashed around $12 billion in public health funding that had been allocated to states and local entities. Again, when? During COVID-19. So this is $12 billion. We just did an article where the Department of Labor got $4.3 billion going back to the American taxpayer. So now we're looking at $16 billion just from the COVID era relief bullshit. Now, it was needed back then, but now that we're 5 years later, I don't think so. Not anymore. So this is a good move by RFK. We're getting billions of dollars back. This is something that Democrats would never have done. Not even close. Joey could never. So good on Trump. America is winning, folks. Don't let the media tell you otherwise. Border crossings at an all-time low. From what I'm being told, depending on when you look at the information, this is the lowest border crossings in American history. So Joe Biden was accustomed to every single month breaking his own record of illegal crossings. Joe Biden, every month, broke crossings. I always said that he would have more gold medals than Michael Phelps if he got trophies for illegal crossings. The guy is a national record holder, folks. So we have here, illegal crossings continued to plummet at the southern border last month, hitting their lowest levels and the lowest point in decades. President Trump campaigned on a promise to shut down illegal immigration at the U.S. southern border, and no one is disputing that he's done just that. In February, his first full month back in office, illegal crossings plummeted to just 8,300. They were seeing 8,300 a day under the Biden administration. They were seeing 8,300 in one sector. This is for the entire border, folks. The lowest number in modern American history. George coming out with the 10 gifted subs. Grab them up. Get them while they're hot, baby. Hell yeah. Attaboy, Georgie. Georgie, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. George's always supporting the show. Smart ass as hell. Extremely funny. One of the true patriots in the chat. Thank you so much. Now, we're all patriots in the chat, but you get what I'm saying. Furthermore, according to the new report, the Homeland Security, there were barely 7,000 crossings just in March. We're going down. This is the trajectory. I want to see entire boarding crossings. Less than 100. Can we get to less than 100, Trump? Maybe. Maybe. Now, last year, again, there were 137 illegal boarding crossings in March. So Trump cut it down by 130,000 in the span of just a couple months. But you need legislation. You got to go through Congress to do it. It's Republicans' fault. Republicans don't want to secure the border. And Democrats and the crazies, they lopped it up. They were all for it. They were all about it. They couldn't get enough of Karine Jean-Pierre, Sideshow Bob spewing her bullshit about oh, well, it's Republicans. They don't really want to secure the border. They don't care about American lives. They don't want to stop fentanyl. Now here we are securing the border, deporting all the criminals that are bringing the fentanyl in. And now you're still telling us and giving us problems about this whole thing that you can't do it. How do you know it's a gang member? How do you know that they actually didn't? How do you know they actually raped a dead person? Well, I don't know. Maybe because they did an investigation on it. I mean, at some point, you got to go with the faith. They're not going to show you every single document you want. I wish they would. Boy, oh boy, the crazies are out there, man. The crazies are really out there, and they're louder than ever right now. Speaking of the crazies and people that think they're kind of the center of attention, Tim Walz's daughter comes out, and she claims that, well, she's not going to attend grad school because students have no right to protest. No, they have a right to protest, you knucklehead. Jeez Louise. Tim Walz's daughter, this psycho. I don't know anything about his daughter, so I'm not going to call her a psycho. She might be too. Hope Waltz took to TikTok to claim she has been accepted to an unidentified institution for graduate school, but turned down the opportunity. Whoa, stop traffic. Folks, if you know anything about the education system, the universities had to lower their standards for almost everything because kids are just lower nowadays. It's nothing really to brag about nowadays that you got into grad school. Let's be fair. It's not. I'm sorry, it's not. You basically got into an extended high school. That's all it is. She outlined her reasons, which included how the unnamed institution purportedly dealt with student protests. Here's her quote. I got into grad school. I will not be attending. I applied for one school. I kind of had my heart set on it. And I'm not going to name the institution, but given recent events, I am not going to give my money, go into debt for, or support institutions that do not support students and the right to protest and speak out for their communities. Would their communities be terrorism? Is that what you're referring to, Hope? Is that, because I'm confused with communities. What are you talking about? Because there's a lot of people out there protesting, asking for the extermination of Jews, which sounds very similar. It's weird. The people that are asking for the extermination of Jews, right? The end of the Jewish people are the same people that are calling us the Nazis. Now, if you want to pretzel your way into that logic, let me know. But a little odd and a little crazy coming from people that are odd and crazy. And the communities that she's speaking of here that they're supporting a lot of times is for Hamas and the support of terrorism from what I've seen on video. Not everybody, but boy, oh boy, a lot of them. Students deserve to be protected. And I'm not worried about if we were to be protected or not at a said institution. I am, a privileged white woman. Oh, here we go. You're privileged because you're white. Maybe Columbia. That's what I was thinking, George. But I am not going to put myself in the position where I'm giving money or supporting institutions that don't support their students, she continued. Well, wouldn't it depend on which side of the coin you're looking at? Because I feel that, you're saying this is for one side of the coin, supporting students to have the right to protest, to go out and basically harm Jewish people. But then, why don't we put the coin on the other end and look at the Jewish people and see how they feel? Because maybe they don't feel supported either. I'm going to do a little bit more research to make sure she's applying to schools that align with my values. Okay. Well, nobody's going to be blessed to have you because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And neither does your dad. And that's why you guys lost. Because your dad doesn't have a clue. Kamala Harris doesn't have a clue. Ilhan Omar doesn't have a clue. Rashida Tlaib doesn't have a clue. Nancy Pelosi doesn't have a clue. Cory Booker doesn't have a damn clue, which he displayed for 24 hours straight looking like an idiot. You also have Chuck Schumer doesn't have a clue. Bernie Sanders doesn't have a clue. AOC doesn't have a clue. The whole party is deranged, and that's why their approval ratings are low. And speaking of deranged, she's back again. She's back again! Jasmine Crockett. Doesn't it floor you that she's from Texas? Isn't that amazing that Texans are now voting for this type of knuckleheadness? If that's even a word. I need to collect my thoughts for this one. Daryl Issa of California, a Republican. It's like things are flip-flopped here. You're getting a Republican from California, and then you're getting a Democrat from Texas. Ass backwards. Delivered a quick fact check to Representative Jasmine Crockett during a Tuesday hearing, using her own previous actions to discredit her current position on the impeachment of judges. Now, Crockett, along with several other Democrats before we get to the clip, used her time during the committee hearing to complain that democracy itself would be left in shambles if Republicans were to succeed in impeaching any of the judges who have unilaterally blocked President Donald Trump's administration from taking certain actions. So here we go. Here's the clip, baby. Everybody buckle up. Hit that like button because she's about to get smacked around.
That we have right now is that if we continue down this...
Oh, come on. No. Back it up. Back it up, folks. That's not me.
That we have right now is that if we continue down this road, then we will not have a rule of law, because we have people that are currently serving and they're saying things like, ignore the judge's order. What it means to have law and order in this country is that you follow the order and you go through the appeals process, even if you dislike what the judge did. Thank you, and I yield.
And I'll yield back to Mr. Issa. You had a question for me, which I'll yield to you now if you want to.
Now that there's no time left. Thanks,
I'm
Eric.
happy to entertain it.
You're good. You're good at that, but I'll take my own time. I'll recognize myself.
Oh, come on. Such bullshit, dude. It ain't me. It ain't me. It's driving me wild.
And I'm going to note that when Miss Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC as we know her, filed articles of impeachment on Justice Thomas and Alito, Ms. Crockett was one of the co-sponsors along with Mr. Cohen, both members of this committee. It does seem interesting that when the shoe is on the other foot, everyone is self-righteous. And I think this is a good example. For the last 3 hours, I have had to listen to one side talking about impeachment as though it was the nature of this hearing. It is not.
Not wrong, sir, but it's always interesting they want to talk about impeachments, but the left and the Democrat Party had to utilize funding from the taxpayers to fund their initiatives and their bullshit stories and their narratives that they were promulgating under the first Trump administration. The Russia hoax, right? The Hunter Biden laptop, which came out that the FBI actually did have involvement in that, which we'll get to in just one moment. But Jason coming out again. By the way, if anybody's ever seen Jason enter into a chat, he's usually screaming. Okay. He said, Rumble Jack the first $10, Brad, watch him. Where'd they put the money? That's my money. Well, actually, it's Jason's money that's put into my money. But I'm sorry if they did take it. I didn't have a thing on my end. But thank you, man. I appreciate you always coming in and supporting. You supported last night. You support now. Greatly appreciate you. And shout out again to George for the gifted subs. 10 gifted subs. We got a lot more members now. Now, what am I referring to here with the FBI? Let me see if I can get it up for y'all. That's what she said. Right here. Check this out. Do not talk about the Biden matter is what's being quoted here in these documents. New internal FBI chat logs show the FBI, listen carefully, the FBI imposed a gag order about the New York Post story on the Hunter Biden laptop. And we were called conspiracy theorists. We were called conspiracy theorists, bigots, homophobes, sexists. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Misinformation. We're extremists. We're a threat to democracy. We're a threat to the republic. You should be removed. Right? Remember how they actually wanted to remove us from this country at one point? Actual citizens. And they still want the same thing, to be fair. They're out there shouting to deport Elon Musk, which is bonkers because he's an actual citizen. But here's the receipts. This is what they're talking about. These are the documents here. It'd be helpful if you got my big head out of the way. I'm sorry. But this is the body of the text that's taking place here. And this is the thread that went viral. The FBI and the Hunter Biden laptop story. But the other day, the New York Post story came out and the FBI refused to tell big tech the truth. Last year, we detailed the FBI's month-long campaign to pre-bunk the New York Post story on the Biden family corruption ahead of the 2020 election. The report shows that the FBI worked to discredit the story as so-called Russian disinformation. This is full proof that, well, we already had the proof, but the full proof now that it wasn't just one intelligence apparatus, but now two or more intelligence apparatuses coming out working to suppress information, which, by the way, in my mind, was that's going against elections, folks. That's going against elections. Left doesn't care. The progressive left doesn't care. They want people to vote without IDs. They want people to vote that are dead. They want people to vote that have been gone for, 40 years, and Joey's having conversations with them still. Holy Lordy. Joe Biden could legitimately be lost right now and nobody would know. Joe's wandering around the woods in the forest like Hillary Clinton was when she lost back in 2016, and then somebody found her and stumbled upon the creature. She's crazy, man. She's crazy. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, hit that like button, folks. If you're over at Rumble and you're new to the show, let us all know in the chat. We would love to highlight you and spotlight you. If you're lurking behind the scenes and just listening, thank you so much. I appreciate you. We do have the best community on social media, by the way. I know every podcaster says this shit. I am telling you right now, we go into other people as a group. We go into other people's podcasts, and we are the popular people. People are talking to us. I watch it. I see it in real time. We are the best chat out there, man. We got the best people. Don't let anybody tell you guys otherwise. I go and watch other people's shows. I don't see any other host know all their people's names, where they live, who they are, communicate with them behind the scenes. No. You're just another person to them. But to me, we're family, baby. It's like, what is that? Fast and Furious. It's family. Oh, boy. Well, let's give a plug here to 5G Free, who we have plugged in the past. I want to talk about things that people are afraid to say just out loud. The question is under the Biden administration, who was in control of the nukes? Sure hell ain't Joey. Joey wasn't even in control of his own bowel movement. That's a big problem. Meanwhile, under the Biden-Harris administration, you had Russian ships right there off the coast of Florida and a full-blown war in Ukraine and Israel. So the world is still technically at its most unstable point, and Donald Trump's trying to make it stable again. And the nuclear weapons, the stakes are 10 times higher. What do you do? What do people like you do to stay safe, especially when China and Iran is super close? Iran is very close to having a nuclear warhead. Well, every prepper needs to have RadioGuard Ace, the only FDA-approved drug to treat radioactive fallout. Only the feds had it until now. That's why Rumble partnered with 5G Free, the only company in the world that has the supply of RadioGuard Ace and the ability to actually give it out. So get the radiation emergency kit with RadioGuard Ace. You have potassium iodide, Zofran, and a Geiger counter. There's simply no other tool in the arsenal to protect against the radioactive threat. Go to 5gfree.com, 5gfree.com, and use code STUDIO to save 15% off and get your radiation kit now. I'm slowly turning into a doomsday prepper myself. So got to grab up that 5G free. And knowing me, I'm a freaking idiot. I'll be walking around my house scanning my wife with the Geiger counter, be like, is there something wrong with you? Boop, 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 boop. That's what I'd be doing. You think a Geiger counter picks up people's brainwaves? Like, I'd imagine that thing would not go off if you went to a liberal, like a Democrat or like a progressive. It's just, this machine is built to pick up life forms. It's just blank. You start with Joey, right? That's the test. That's the control, right? If nothing goes off with Joey, it's working correctly. And then you move on to others. And I guarantee you might get one ping. For who it would be, I don't know. Not sure. But you can have them lined up. I can name a few that you're not going to get nothing with. You might actually think it's broken after a while. It's not working. It's out of batteries. No, you just don't have a thought in your head, Democrats. Not all Democrats. Not all of them. Joey's a flatliner. Yeah. Joey, boy. Don't miss the guy. Miss the content. I missed the content. Don't miss the crap that he was doing in this country. That's for damn sure. Well, Vance is here defending the Trump admin after it admits to mistakenly deporting a Salvadorian. So he might be amongst these guys. I don't know. Vice President J.D. Vance defended the Trump administration on Monday after a top immigration and customs enforcement official informed a federal judge that a Salvadorian man unlawfully living in Maryland has mistakenly deported back to his home country. I don't know how that makes sense, to be quite honest. A Salvadorian man unlawfully living in Maryland. Well, let's break this down. The guy's last name is Garcia. Go figure. who is an immigration judge deemed likely to be an MS-13, MS-13 gang member in 2019, was arrested by ICE. Then he was sent to El Salvador last month on one of Trump's deportation flights, while a judge ordered that the Salvadorian be removed from the country in 2019. The order prohibited Garcia from being sent back to his home country, acknowledging that he would likely face persecution or torture. An administrative error placed a suspect MS-13 member on a flight to El Salvador, where the Trump administration has been sending deportees to an infamous Salvadorian prison. Through administrative error, Garcia was removed from the United States to El Salvador. This was an overnight, and the removal was carried out in good faith based on the existence of a final order of removal. And Garcia's purported membership of MS-13 ICE, which is a little odd, the Trump administration's admission was caused questions and criticisms to swirl. So you make one mistake out of hundreds, and all of a sudden, oh, we got to ask more questions. Joey did nothing but made mistakes during his administration. I didn't hear anything. I mean, he had the mistake of, the Inflation Reduction Act. Didn't actually reduce inflation at all. Inflation actually went up. Also, you had 9.1% high inflation. The guy not handling foreign affairs correctly. People are being raped and tortured all across the world. 300,000 children sold off into forced labor and sex slavery. Mind you, there was more slavery under Joe Biden's administration than there was at the height of slavery. Not a peep from the media. Not a peep from the Democrats. Nobody wanted to say anything. It's remarkable how that works out. Just all of a sudden, like, oh, we're just not going to look at that today. J.D. Vance, one of the most favorable vice presidents in modern history, says, my comment is that according to the court document you apparently did not read, he was convicted of being an MS-13 gang member with no legal right to be here. Thank you, JD. That's where the confusion's coming on my part, buddy. Is weird. Gang member, illegal. Not supposed to live in Maryland, deported. Why is he coming back? I don't know. My further comment is that it's gross to get fired up about gang members getting deported while ignoring citizens they victimize. That deserves a salute, sir. Have we not been saying that here? I mean, I think we actually literally said it yesterday. If not, definitely in the Dark MAGA podcast, we were covering the White House press briefing, where the media are more concerned about the violent, criminal, illegal aliens than they are about the people that they're raping, murdering, and having sex with their dead bodies. Here's Caroline Leavitt talking about that yesterday during the White House press briefing. And I'm not sure in this clip if she lists out all the crazy things that these gang members do, but I listed a couple of them for you right there.
Just changing subjects for 1 second. The administration has expressed a complete confidence in how all the deportation flights to El Salvador were conducted. But now that the administration has conceded that there was an error of one Salvadoran national, will there be any reviews conducted? And does the president express any thoughts on the one error that was disclosed in court last night?
Well, first of all, the error that you are referring to was a clerical error. It was an administrative error. The administration maintains the position that this individual who was deported to El Salvador and will not be returning to our country was a member of the brutal and vicious MS-13 gang. That is fact number one. Fact number two, we also have credible intelligence proving that this individual was involved in human trafficking. And fact number three, this individual was a member, actually a leader of the brutal MS-13 gang, which this president has designated as a foreign terrorist organization. Fact number four is that foreign terrorists do not have legal protections in the United States of America anymore, and it is within the president's executive authority and power to deport these heinous individuals from American communities. It is a promise he campaigned on. It is a promise he is keeping.
Oh, come on. Damn you, Elon. Get your shit together.
And every single person in this room should be grateful for that, considering especially MS-13 is very prevalent and prominent here in the District of Columbia, in Maryland, and in Virginia. And the president, the attorney general, everyone who has been involved in these operations is focused on eradicating these criminals and terrorists from our communities.
The vice president said he was a convicted member of MS-13. What evidence is there to back that up?
There's a lot of evidence, and the Department of Homeland Security and ICE have that evidence, and I saw it this morning.
It's so fascinating. The media, the crazies, the Democrat Party are all concerned about evidence for everything now. No evidence for all the money and wasteful spending that they fucking did for decades. No evidence and no receipts for the people coming into the interior of the country. They didn't have to prove who they were. That's why they have passports and IDs and passports. They're all fake and fraudulent, laying around at the southern border that Border Patrol was picking up and having to throw away because they just left their garbage here. It's amazing. No receipts or actual realization of the thousands, hundreds of thousands of people taking Social Security out fraudulently that shouldn't be. But it's up to Doge to prove said something all the time, but it's never up to the media to actually do their job. Maybe go investigate it yourself, dude, rather than sitting in that room as CNN and always giving a response bias to the questions that are being performed by you to elicit a narrative that ain't going to work right now, because nobody wants violent gang members that are illegal here in the country harming their women and children. They don't want that. So good on Caroline Leavitt there. And what she ended up doing right after was she ended up slapping the guy around and the rest of the media for kind of what these illegal aliens and criminals are doing. And boy, she read a laundry list of things. It's not in the clip here. And I might even get my video taken down for saying it. But that's Caroline Leavitt putting in the Lord's work. Now, you also have this in regards to legal immigration. Judge says Trump admin must keep Biden-era program shielding Venezuelans from deportation. So here we go again, these rogue judges. And you know where they're coming from. These ain't Republican, conservative, independent judges. These are progressives. And this one's from San Francisco. A federal judge in San Francisco. Do you want to guess? Do you want to guess? Moved to postpone the Trump administration from ending a Biden-era program that shielded hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan migrants from deportation. U.S. Senior District Judge Edward Chen ordered the Department of Homeland Security to postpone revoking temporary protected status from about 350,000 Venezuelans living in the United States who were given work authorization and shielded from deportation by Biden administration in October of 2023. Chen said the revocation would cause irreparable harm and hurt the economy. That's bonkers, bro. That is 350,000 Venezuelans. That's going to be, how do you even prove that, by the way? How do you even prove that will be irreparable harm and hurt the economy? In what way, by the way? Like what jobs are they doing that's so vital to the United States economy that it's actually irreparable? You can't repair it. It's going to be an everlasting impact on the United States economic form and the greatness of this country. If we actually remove them, you'll never come back from it. It's going to destabilize us like you've never seen before. What jobs are they taking that is doing that? That's why irreparable harm. Come on. Nobody in the chat right now believes that. I don't think a single person believes that other than this dumbass here. And I'm telling you, folks, I keep saying this time and time again. It doesn't mean anything. And no offense to anybody in the lawyers or accountants in the chat. I used to be an accountant. It doesn't mean anything if you're a judge. All these high status positions that we grew up with where it's like, man, that person has to be smart as shit. That person has their crap together, man, because they got in a really high powered position. Boy, man, they're a judge. That guy is smarter than ever. No, not anymore. In today's society, no way. You don't have to know shit to get to the highest levels. What's my case? What's my point? What's my receipt? Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, Rashida Tlaib, AOC, a bartender, Bernie Sanders, a former mail person when he was a kid. He was a paper boy, suckling at the government tea his entire life, and then honeymooning in the Soviet Union. That's just to name a few. Cory Booker. Did I say OC already? Did I see? The list goes on. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi. Anybody that's elected in office in the state of California. both Democrat and Republican. There's a list for you. The decision comes after Homeland Security Kristi Noem announced that she was revoking the TPS status, saying that conditions had improved in Venezuela and that it was not in America's best interest to maintain the program. Correct. Correct. In response, a group called the National TPS Alliance sued the bloc Noem's decision. I always mention this. Why do they have to come here? I don't know if the UN updated it. Okay. So this is old information. There used to be 193 registered nations in the United Nations. Used to be. People are always applying. Why do they have to come here? Venezuela, there's a lot of countries in South America. A lot of countries. Why is it they have to come here? It's always odd to me. It's always odd that we're the ones that have to uplift everybody. We're the ones that have to change. Not the countries people live in. Their countries don't have to change, but it's our country that has to change. And we're mandated now by court orders and judges to keep illegal immigrants into the interior of the country. If you recall, a judge ordered the deportation flights of violent criminals, illegal aliens, gang members that are murdering and raping our women and children to go back into the interior of the United States of America. I mean, and you're telling me these people are educated? You're telling me these people's heads are on straight? I need a Geiger counter. I need not even a Geiger counter. It picks up radiation. I need like a counter thing that looks for any life form in these judges. I want to follow the money because I'm wondering if some of these judges are being paid off. I want to know what's going on here because it ain't making sense. It's irreparable harm to the economy or to the illegal guy that came here and got technically status and is somewhat legal for the time being because he has a work authorization. Well, you also have this going on. CNN anchor balks when Republican says gang members don't get citizen rights. So this comes from CNN, and things got a little testy, a little spicy here. And let's make sure that Elon Musk doesn't screw us over with the audio. Let's go.
Exactly what we denounce other countries for doing, not giving our own citizens, when they get wrongfully detained around the world, our own citizens, the due process that they deserve?
Well, I think multiple things could be true. Number one, I delineate between American citizens and everyone else. If you're a U.S. citizen, I put you in a different category.
On due process, that's not a distinction that the law makes.
Then if you've come here and broken our laws and committed violent acts or murdered and raped and whatever, I put you in a different category.
When it comes to the law and due process, that is not a distinction.
Well, if you'd like to argue that Trinidad or Aragua should have the same rights and that you get as an American citizen, go ahead.
Here's the argument. Change the Constitution. The argument is
you're saying that a terrorist can walk across the border and become effectively a U.S. citizen?
That's not what I'm saying.
Scott, look at me. Okay. You and I are talking. You and I are talking. Okay. What I'm saying to you is that the law does not make a distinction between U.S. citizens and everybody else when it comes to being accused of crimes. Are you saying that should not be in place? That if you happen to not be a citizen, you get to be thrown into a jail with no process at all?
I'm saying that these people are effectively terrorists. They walked across our borders illegally.
Okay.
They are violent, and I don't really want them here.
But doesn't the government have to prove that they are who they say they are?
Correct.
That's all
we're saying.
That's all.
Shouldn't they have to prove as well that they are who they say they are before they fucking come into the country? Like what?
I mean,
you can say it
eventually.
It's not a concession that you like Trinidad and Aragua. It's just a question of the basics of civics in this country.
I think eventually the government will have to show all of its cards on everybody that they have detained, deported, or done anything to in this arena. But there is no doubt that the Trump administration is rounding up effectively terrorists who came across here illegally, committed horrific acts, and do not need to be in this country.
They are doing that, perhaps, but they're also doing a lot of other things, too. And that's why the courts are asking questions about it.
Now, I'm going to say something you don't like, and I don't even like saying it. She has a point. That's the frustrating thing is she has a point. I don't like it. It frustrates the hell out of me. The Democrats have been playing the long game for a while. They knew this would take place. They knew that these people would be brought in the interior of the country. They don't care about the crime. They don't care that your kids are being raped. They don't care that your kids are being trafficked. They don't care about any of that. They've proven that under the Biden administration. That's already baked into the cake. They knew that these people would have to be deported at some point and that Trump was going to try. So what would they use? This is the last ditch effort. There is nothing else after this. They're going to use the court systems. And now you have to do case for 25 million people, by the way. Case after case after case. You will never get through all the cases in my lifetime, in all of your lifetimes, in your kids' lifetimes. This was the whole purpose of their shenanigans. One, you had the great replacement theory, right? The restructuring of districts through the census, because that includes illegal aliens. You see that in the state of California. The long-term game of making these people citizens, talk amnesty. Well, now you have a bunch of Democrat voters. Now you won a bunch of elections. So this is a massive problem. The big problem. Trump has to solve this in 4 years, folks, because it's going to have ramifications for the next election. You get Gavin Newsom in office, the guy that thrives on all this stuff. You're going to see some crazy stuff because Gavin Newsom, folks, clip it right now. We're saying it 4 years. I got 4 years. The guy's going to run for president and he might very well win. He's slimy. He's good. He's good at dodging. Because they have a right to due process. They actually have that right. So they have a right to actually be litigated in the court systems. And to remove somebody, you have to be able to prove that they're actually who they are. So what I mean by that is you could have a scenario where you're deporting an actual American by accident, and that might never actually have been caught if you didn't go through the court systems in the first place, that the person has to be able to prove who they are. So you're innocent until proven guilty. If we were to reverse that, we'd be like the Chinese, that you're guilty until proven innocent. So this is what the media, and again, they're right actually in saying this, and it's very frustrating, but they are, is that what Trump is doing is he's treating somebody as if they're guilty, when in actuality, that's not how our system works. Even if they are guilty, you are innocent, meaning you're actually technically an American citizen, according to the law, before you're actually not, based on what the media is doing, what they're saying. I don't like that. I don't agree with that, but that's the way it's being portrayed. And there is a substance of truth to that, where they are innocent. You have to be able to prove that this person is actually a legal alien. Is it asked backwards? Yeah, because they never should have been here in the first place. But we have to treat it that way, innocent until proven guilty. You would want that as an American here of, well, I shouldn't be deported. I'm an American. Okay, well, we're going to pretend like you're an American for now. We'll say that you're innocent, but are you actually guilty? And now that is up to somebody else to prove. That is not up to you to prove. That is up to somebody else. So I don't know if that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense in there. Again, I don't like that. I want to be clear. I don't think a violent gang member, terrorist, fuck, I don't care who you are. If you're illegal, I don't think you should be here. But they have a point. MS-13 MD thug was completely adjudicated in the court in 2019 and did nothing to change his status until after arrest, which is typical, right? Until shit hits the fan, then all of a sudden you want to change, right? All of a sudden you want to be a different person. That says also when they were flooding across the border, nobody took their fingerprints because they didn't want this to happen for anyone to be able to send them back if we had. There you go. That's just exactly right. Pat says here, just breathe. Good Lord. I apologize for all my eating habits. What the hell are you talking about, Pat? Pat, are you drunk? What time is it where you're at, Pat? It's like 7 a.m. here. God, we have the best chat. Mizzy says they provide records of U.S. citizen, same as we do. Yeah, and that's, Mizzy, I 100% agree. And I think that's what the conversation's about, is that in the courts, that is something that they would have to show is like, hey, you need to prove that you are a citizen or a resident here in the United States, not even a resident, just an actual citizen. So I agree. And this is the game plan. This is a strategy that Democrats have. And it's working because now they're trying to lock this whole thing up where Trump can't deport anybody. I think it's crazy. I think it's bonkers, but that's what we're dealing with. Cindy says twice he needed to go. Exactly. She also says that guy was already found to be guilty. Correct. Already found to be an illegal alien too. Let that one sink in. But don't worry. He still might be a citizen and has to prove it in the courts to be a citizen. But we already know that he's not a citizen. Yeah, no, I get you. Don't get me wrong. That's why I said I don't like saying it, but they know what they're doing here. And again, all of a sudden they're concerned about we proving who these people are, but they didn't have to prove who they were when they came into the country. Now, here's a simple trick that can be done that could lead to more self-deportations. We have here President Donald Trump and his administration have thrown out the playbook on immigration. So between resurrecting the 18th century law to deport violent criminals and running nationwide television commercials encouraging illegal immigrants to leave the country, which is actually working slightly. You have the White House is employing anything and everything they can to remove illegals from the country and strengthen the southern border. But experts say that Trump's administration has another arrow in the quiver, baby. One that's not new, but incredibly effective, and that's the E-Verify. This is the E-Verify. E-Verify is a free service from the Department of Homeland Security that allows employers to check applicants' employment authorization status. Until now, proponents of E-Verify have encouraged employers to use the service to ensure they don't hire illegals. Why? Because that's illegal within itself. But now experts say mandating the service would spike the rate of self-deportations. Maybe. I think they should. I don't remember what the penalty is for hiring an illegal immigrant, but I think if you make it to something insane, like either you lose your business license or there's a massive penalty, like in the tune of 6-figure massive penalty, and it accrues interest if you don't pay it. I think you'd have a lot more people not hiring illegal aliens out of fear that they would be caught, especially now that Donald Trump's in office. There's no question that a large part, and maybe most, of any reduction in illegal population has come through self-deportation. This comes from Center for Immigration Studies Executive Director Mark Krikorian. A big share of any reduction in illegal population will inevitably come, and it has to come, through voluntary departure of semi-voluntary departure. A national E-Verify mandate, Krikorian says, hopefully I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, is one of the ways that lawmakers could encourage illegal aliens to leave the United States. Now, the illegal aliens that we've heard are leaving through self-deportation are the ones that are newly here. We covered it yesterday, where they're seeing this footage of the El Salvadorian prison. They're seeing what's taking place with the southern border and actually people being removed. And they're going, you know what? I think I'll just go back home where my other family's at, and I'll stick it out there instead of going to the El Salvadorian prison and probably never getting out. Good move on their part. But what they're finding is the illegal immigrants that have been here for decades, or even a decade or later, or earlier, they're not leaving because they're already built a foundation here. They've already built a living here. So we'll see what happens with that. I want to make sure I get to this here. Iran's military commanders are locked and loaded, folks. Get ready and buckle up because you're about to see some crazy stuff, and I don't think this is getting enough attention. I think you will see at some point here within this year something between Iran and the United States in terms of maybe crossfire, maybe firing upon each other. You have here military commanders in the Iranian armed forces are urging Iran to strike the Diego Garcia military base situated on Great Britain's Chagos Islands in the central Indian Ocean after President Donald Trump deployed bombers there, which we showed satellite imagery. Now the Iranians are coming out and saying, we're going to go attack this. This is crazy shit, man. You're about to see some serious escalation here, dude. There's a report. I mean, we've been saying that Iran's weeks away from having a nuclear warhead for like years now. But from what I'm hearing is like they are really, 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 really close and probably will have it in the coming weeks, maybe. Check this out. An Iranian official says the country's military is locked and loaded for a strike on the island base, where at least 3 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers were delivered last week. The bombers carry a payload of weapons that can weigh up to 40,000 pounds, man. That's a big boom boom. Joey could never make a boom boom that big, only in his diaper, and have a range of more than 7,000 miles. Dude, you know, you kind of forget the military power that we have until we start talking numbers. Holy shit, dude. That's a... Sure, Iran, you want to F around and find out, man? Holy lordy. Top commanders are being urged to launch preemptive strikes on the island, and its base if Trump threats have become more serious. An Iranian official informed the Telegraph discussions about the island have intensified since the Americans deployed bombers there. Some are suggesting that missiles be fired towards the island, not with the intent to hit anything, but to fall into the water to send a clear message to the Iranians that we are serious. Oh, so now the pussy's back off. Oh, there you go. That's why you got to get into it. You got to get into the meat a little bit. Like, what'd you really fucking say? We're locked and loaded, but we're just going to fire a missile that goes off to nowhere into the water. Ooh, stop traffic, man. Notify the newspapers. What a pussy. Can't even make a serious threat. You know what I mean? Hey, we're going to come for you guys. but we're going to shoot it in the water. We're not actually really going to come for you. Okay, gotcha. Understood. The response to Trump's threat should be action, not words. Every base in the region is within range of our missiles. The missiles are locked and loaded. Yeah, but locked and loaded for the water. Give me a break. Ready to target any area from which Iran could be threatened, whether from Diego Garcia or Bahrain. Commanders have been instructed to ensure that all missile launchers are prepared and that nuclear sites are well protected. They're bracing for an all-out war with everything in place for when Trump attacks. See, it's been far too long since a military's been completely wiped out. The last one would be, most recently, would be the Gulf War, where we basically wiped out Iraq's military. Iraq's military was the third largest military in human existence, and we took them out in like 2 weeks. And then we played with our food for a bit. We kind of messed around, did some tactical warfare to kind of give more training to our troops. Because people are like, oh, well, it actually, you were there for a few months. Yeah, we were doing training exercises in real combat. That's the best training exercise you could possibly get, is actual boots on the ground and, kicking somebody's shit in for pulling some shit. So Iran wants to be next, I guess. Well, we're locked in. I still can't believe that. Well, we're locked and loaded, but we're not actually going to shoot at you. Give me a break, man. Give me a break. All righty, folks. That is today's episode. We may be back here this evening. We will see. But if you enjoyed what you saw, we do this each and every morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Rumble, YouTube, and X. We're on all platforms. We're on TikTok. We're everywhere. Links to everything is in the description below. We also have a book. I am an author of Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. Link to the book is in the description below. It's on sale right now on Amazon. Pick yourself up a copy. Great for a friend or family member. It's a great gift idea. And with that being said, take care of yourselves. Pray for this country. Pray for Donald Trump. And we'll see the markets on how they're reacting to these Trump tariffs. Patriots, I'll see you next time here on the Ball Brad Show. Take care, Patriots.